All right, let's go ahead and get this called to order. The regular city council meeting of Monday, February 24th, 2020. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Rowland,
Here.
Bizzard,
Here.
Bellinger,
Here.
Weiss,
Here.
Rhines,
Here.
Gilroy,
Here.
Smith.
Here.
All right, I am looking for approval of the agenda for this evening's council meeting unless there's any changes that need to be made.
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we have an opportunity for audience participation with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation. Anybody like to come forward at this time? Come up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
My name is David Roddy. I live at 9733 Brandon Lane in Handy Township in Williamston County. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Christina Light. She's running for congressional representative. I do believe someone was here at your last meeting, and she asked me to come back again and just reinforce what the other person may have said. I know she probably asked you if you had any issues, that you can call Christina. That's what I'm here for. If there's something that she can help you out or you think she needs to know about it at this level of government, she'd love to have your call. Christina's a resident of Williamston County, lifelong resident of Williamston County. She owns a business here in Lansing as a lawyer, and she's a family law lawyer. That's what she specializes in. And I won't belabor you with all of her political beliefs, but I would like to leave these if you don't mind. Then you can have those, and I won't have to take up any more of your time.
All right, well, thank you for coming this evening.
If I pass these out, I would tell you she's a good person. They all are, really, you know, every one of us step
Thank you.
forward.
Appreciate it.
I noticed,
for serving.
thank you, sir. I noticed tonight that you have some appointments being made, and for the rest of my time, I'd just like to congratulate those folks that are being appointed. I know it's hard to come by good people that work for the community these days, so like I said, I'm with the Handy Township Board also, so
Great.
I know how hard it is to find good people, so.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Would anybody else like to come forward for audience participation? Okay. Moving right along, we have a presentation from the Williamston Area Senior Center. Julie, welcome. Good
Hi,
evening.
thank you. Do you guys have that? on
Yes,
your- okay.
it just needs to be turned on.
Okay.
It's like
You want,
the, and there's a clicker, Holly, I think right behind you.
let's see if the clicker works. The last time I had to scroll.
Just need to make sure the clicker's on.
Maybe
Whoa.
it's on.
What's back on this side?
Thank you, not that one.
There you go.
There, that's it.
Sorry about that. Okay, I'm here with the Williamston Area Senior Center, and I know you know where we're located. I'm going to try to keep this fairly brief. Let's see if I can make this go forward. Just slip. Okay. We are a service organization, and we provide services to the seniors in the following areas. Actually, beyond the areas here, but these are the ones that we're focusing on. City of Williamston, Leroy Township, Locke Township, Village of Weberville, which we know falls in under Leroy, but we see it as a separate, and Wheatfield and Williamstown Township. The current activities that we provide, the services that we provide, activities and services, we've got lunch Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We do some joint educational programs with the Williamston Library. We have free wellness clinic, blood pressure monitoring and counseling. We also do referral services, some of the community services. We do educational and entertainment programs for the physical, emotional, and social well-being of the seniors. We've got trips planned all the time, picnics, plays. We do a bi-monthly potluck. Here's where we'd like to go. We'd like to take the senior center to a new level. With all the seniors, you know, every year we've got more seniors coming. Would love to provide cooking classes to newly widowed. We'd love to have some rooms for confidential medical and financial consultations. Rooms for medical services like podiatry. On-site activity room where we could do yoga, tai chi, offer, you know, more enhanced gateway services. Love a space where we can do multiple activities all at the same time. And space to have book club conversations like the TED Talks. Reinstate our art classes. We actually had a really good following when we were doing the art classes. And flexibility to meet the growing needs of the members. Currently, the Senior Center is funded, it's a nonprofit organization. We charge $10 a month, a year for our membership dues. We're always doing grants. We take the donations. We've got memorials and honorariums. We've got local government donations. We're always doing fundraising. And we average about 400 volunteer hours per month to keep us going. On an average though, with everything that we are doing, the Williamston Area Senior Center is running on $26,000 a year. So, some of the challenges we've got. We are one of the very few senior centers in Michigan that has, without a millage or guaranteed funding. When we looked at it, there were two, and we are one of the two that is funded. Our current facility is also a challenge. We're on the 3rd floor. We've got one elevator. Bless their hearts, none of the seniors, I believe, take the stairs. I just don't think they can do it. We've got a kitchen and running water, but it's down the hall. There's not enough room to have activities in the room where we're at. We've got no private rooms for like health checkups, private conversations. And what we would really like to do is increase our membership. So kind of in summary, we've got the natural attrition of our membership, members passing all the time. We have an inability to track any new members because we just don't have the facilities to offer anything to get some of the new seniors in. And then our funding, lack of funding I should say, is really threatening the existence of the senior center. We've got a volunteer financial guy that's run the numbers, and basically he's saying 3 to 4 years we will not be in existence unless we come up with some kind of funding. So, our solution, and to kind of give you a little bit of background, we've been looking at this for like 8 years. So this isn't anything new. We've been trying to figure out funding for years. But we want to head for a millage, 0.25, hit the November 2020 ballot to cover operational costs. We'd like to increase the staff, and really by increasing the staff we can offer more services and actually even better handle the volunteers that we've got. So basically, tonight I'm here because we're asking you for your support to get us on the ballot. Let's let the community decide. I would love it if we could get a millage, and this really is just for financial stability. This is not going to, be an end-all be-all, but right now, we can either go forward with a 5-year plan where we're trying to revamp the senior center, offer some new services, expand what we've got, or if we don't get it, it's going to be a 5-year plan to ramp it down, close it down. Background though, we have talked to TCOA, we've talked to a couple of the commissioners, District 13, we talked to Randy Schaefer. District 8, it was Mark Regner. We've talked to the Williamston superintendent. We've talked to the Williamston library. We were here talking to you guys a couple of months ago. So that's where we're at. Do you guys have any questions for me?
When you say that you are looking for support, are you looking for a resolution from us or or just verbal support of the council? What exactly are you looking for?
I'm looking for, when I say support, I want to know that we can go forward, get you the information that we need to be on the ballot for the city of Williamston.
Okay. And then with the other municipalities, communities that you serve, you're going and doing the same pitch to them as well and
Yes.
asking for their support to be
Yes,
on the
yes,
ballot?
yes. And we've met with Wheatfield, and believe it or not, and I don't mean any disrespect by this comment, other than none of them have gone through a millage ballot proposal type thing. They were very, very supportive,
Okay.
so I was really pleased. Next week, we meet with Leroy and Locke, and
The week after.
the week after, we meet with Williamstown. And actually, Wanda Bloomquist, we've done a kind of a FYI with Rotary. She was there and has already told us what she'd like when we go to give the presentation there, so they can be on board when we go there.
Okay.
And last Tuesday, you were at the Kiwanis.
And you guys gave us some great feedback.
And just for the other feedback, what they're looking at also doing is if they had the ability, they would look at about a 5,000 square foot new facility that they'd like to build. And maybe you want to come up on that?
This is really literally an operational millage. We're just trying to find some financial stability, literally. Like I said, our volunteer financial guy, has run the numbers. We are not going to exist in 3 to 5 years if we keep trying to go the way we're going. But at the same time, we are looking for other facilities, other sites where we could build, something like that, because we've got the fund that we can pull from. We can also, there are several grants out there that we could get to help with the building of the building. We do need something different than what we've got. We've looked at Meridian, we've gone to Meridian and talked with them. We've looked at Eaton Rapids and Holt. I'd like have you ever been to Meridian? The Meridian, see? It's part of the school. They've got it in part of the school, but it's a nice big building. You come in and they've got a couple offices here for the people that work there. They've got a couple of private offices where if you wanted to go in and you wanted to close the door, you could have a personal conversation, or we've got medical, whatever, going on there. They've got a great kitchen that the door, they've got access from outside to the kitchen, and you've got a great buffet set up this way where, you can get all into the kitchen. They've got a great kitchen, amongst other things. But something like that is what I feel like we need here. And as the senior population continues to grow, I think this is a great, everybody we've met with has said, yes, we don't want to lose the senior citizen, the senior center. We want to keep going. We think this is a great thing. We just don't have the money and funding for you.
Well, and I agree, letting the community speak.
Yes.
At the ballot,
Exactly.
that's gonna give you your answer. Holly, what timeline and everything, what all has to happen? If they wanna apply to be on our ballot?
Into it.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay, all right, okay,
I have no idea.
I think we're shooting for May.
okay.
If you were to say, yep, we don't have a problem with this, Julie, we would pull together whatever we needed and we would get it to you by May.
And do you have, somebody looking at your ballot language?
Yes.
Working on it for you, okay.
Actually, when we met with the library, Scott, and his name escapes me.
That's okay.
Okay. He has volunteered to help us with the wording. We've also
Okay.
taken what NISA did and, we could adopt that. We've also got what Meridian has done.
So I guess what I would suggest then is, Julie getting with Corey or
Yep.
following up with
Okay.
Corey or Holly,
Okay,
so that you can get this process moving forward.
okay,
With our ballot and
Okay.
making sure you hit your timelines and everything.
okay.
Any other questions?
I do. Julie, did
Okay.
you say right now you sustain the senior center on $26,000 a year?
Yes, we do.
Wow. I guess.
And over half of that is for a part-time director.
Yeah, I think we all want to support the senior center. I guess my question, I don't know if it'd be for Mr. Perot, would we need this as an action item at some point on an agenda?
Yes.
And a motion
Yes.
to move this forward?
If you're talking about a millage just for the residents of the city of Williamston, you would have to adopt a resolution and approve ballot language and then get that to the county clerk in May as a deadline for the August election, and then there would be a different deadline if you put it on the November.
We
election.
actually are shooting for the November.
Yeah.
That
So
would
you
be
Right.
might have a little
ballot.
more time, you might even have closer to August for that. It's 12 weeks in advance of the election.
We are still not wanting, we're still trying to shoot for something earlier than August, just so
Yeah.
we can get all of our
Right.
ducks, this, you know.
And that would just be for the city
Right.
residents, even
Right.
though it serves those other communities. Apparently, they would have to have their own
Exactly.
separate millage election.
Okay.
And it's unclear whether Tri-County Office on Aging has a millage.
No, they have their own, and we've gone to them twice now, and they basically said, we can't help you, you need to get your
All
own.
right, so what that means is
I-
that county residents are paying a millage for senior services in Ingham County.
Right,
Human services, yes,
yep, yep,
yes you are.
okay.
Would, I'm sorry,
No, that's okay.
would you suggest we put this as an action item sooner than later? For a motion to move forward, or get
Well, I
the ballot
think Julie's
language
gotta
first?
get the ballot language back so that we can have it
And
for
it
the
would have to be
resolution.
reviewed also,
Yeah.
and we would want to look at it to see whether it's generic, whether that is, you're raising it for senior services,
Mm-hmm.
or specifically for operational purposes of the Williamston Area Senior Center.
Yep,
Okay, I can tell you that right now, we are specifically looking for operational expense for the senior center in Williamston.
All right,
Okay.
because-
And all 5 townships will have, this is where it's different than like Williamston, Meridian. Williamston's got 5 different townships where we get the biggest, amount of seniors coming in.
right.
I mean, we actually go beyond that, but those are the 5 top, townships that we
Municipalities.
support. Meridian had Meridian, Holt had Holt,
Yep.
that's all they had to worry about. So we are getting, we are going to have to do 5 different ballots and get each one of you to approve that ballot. And I guess I was looking for what I was told when I'm working with these commissioners, because I'm keeping them in the loop on everything we do. They also were the ones that said, we can't help you, you gotta try this on your own. Net, we either do this or it's going down, it's just that easy. But they basically said, I needed your approval before I should even start the ballot language.
Yeah. So what I would do then, Julie, like I said, is I would bring back that resolution or that ballot language,
Okay,
meet with Corey,
okay,
so that we can have time to review it.
Okay.
And probably discussion item again, and then
Yeah.
okay,
action.
okay,
Again, with regard to the specificity,
Yes,
if it's just for the Williamston Area Senior Center, then you can't use the money for anything else.
correct.
And if the senior center closes, as they said, you can't use it.
Yep, okay. Dan?
I guess I wasn't plugged in enough when everything happened with NISA to know how all that worked. With this trying to get this on the ballot and all the different townships, what would happen if it passes in some of the townships and does not pass in the others? Is that the specificity?
I think his specificity, or, yeah, let's all try saying it, is that the language, when it states it, that it's for operational costs only, that's all it can be used for. And as they have it notated up there. If they were to try to use it for building a new building or something like that, they can't
Correct.
use that. So
Correct.
that's why their
Yeah.
language has to be
You
reviewed.
can't use it for
Yeah,
that.
and, yeah,
Once they get it,
they can use it for whatever.
Well,
Well, they
but
shouldn't,
you would want to have a contract.
yeah.
and currently, like, they're talking about using the NISA model. Well, NISA has a board that that runs it, that's appointed by all the
Well, NISA
members.
is an authority.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
it's a
not-
separate
it's not-
legal entity and
Yeah,
political
and this is a
subdivision.
nonprofit organization. We've got a board in place. And we are hitting each one of the townships separately and looking for support, because this has just not been easy to kind of nail down all the details, but we have done our homework, we have figured it out. Hopefully I can throw all of this together and you guys can, give the approval for the November ballot, okay?
Any other questions?
Yeah, let me ask the hard question.
Yep.
What have you projected the .25 will bring in? Where do you
I'm thinking 110, 125,000, if all five,
If all five ballot measures
Right,
pass?
right.
Okay.
Here's the thing. We're working so, there's no guaranteed funding with what we're doing. On an average, we're getting in $26,000 a year to run that center, and it runs a huge amount on volunteers. So if even 3 out of the 5 came through, we
Right.
would still have more than we've got today.
Well, don't get me wrong, the only reason I ask is because when the school went and did their sinking fund, it seems like they came back before the 10 years was up and asked to renew it, to continue it, because, and it just comes down to making sure that what you're asking for is enough, to be honest with you. I don't like things coming back twice, I'd like things to succeed and move on, And
Well,
I know you guys need it.
and the school was one of the ones that said, go for 4-year, so you can renew.
Okay.
So you can adjust, so as we get more stable, we can start to increase, and if we do get a new building, then we can really increase. There's one other comment when you just said that.
I'm sorry.
No,
Dan?
I have one more question. I worked in the senior center many years ago when I was still in school, when the building you're in was still the community center.
yeah.
How has the funding changed? I know the building ownership has changed, but has the funding changed since then? Or how was it when it was in the community center, was a community ed program? Was it
Schools
fun?
and the city paid for it for quite a while. Right now, our landlord is pretty much, we could just stay there rent-free.
Yeah. They
They-
gave them, they
we
came
covers-
in, they gave them like a
Yeah.
lifetime
Right.
agreement. Roy was here, and I think you were here that night too, Julie.
Yeah,
I know that, but I didn't know if when it was still with community ed, was the school providing more funding than they are now? Or has the funding basically stayed the same, but your facilities, I know you have a smaller space now.
no, it's gone down. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'd like to say dramatically, but
And they're
I
looking
want
for
your
one,
team anyway.
and they have one board opening that they're looking to fill.
Oh, I wasn't even gonna mention that.
Well, thanks, Noah.
I'm just, if anybody's interested. Yeah.
All right. Julie, thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you, you
All
guys, I
right, so you'll be in
appreciate.
touch with Corey,
I'll get
and
in touch
then
with
it'll
Corey.
get back, it'll come
Yep.
back up on our agenda.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate your
Thank
time,
you.
you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, all right, we have council meeting minutes of February 10th, 2020. Any changes that need to be made? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, accounts payable, Noah.
I got a chance to review all the accounts payable. Everything looked very well. So I'd like to make a motion to pay checks 72876 dated 2/4 of 2020 through check 72925 dated 2/14 of 2020 in a total of $321,869.63.
Thank you, Noah. Did anybody have any questions regarding accounts payable this time around? No? Okay, thank you for that. Do I have a support?
Support.
Thank you. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
All right, moving right along, we have a long action items list. So we will start right off with the appointment of Garrett Gabriel to the Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Is he here today?
No, he is not. Golden Dandelion, which is a very, very successful new retail shop in town where the old West Side Deli used to be. They've done an amazing job. They really do a good job down there.
I was kind of excited to see his name on here. I had the opportunity to meet him at
Mhm.
Christmas, and we got talking, and he expressed an interest in
Yeah.
public service then,
Yeah.
and to see that he followed through with that and did this. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Garrett Gabriel to the Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire 6/30/21.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Holly, will you call the roll?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
All right. Next, we have the appointment of Kent Hall to the Board of Review for a term to expire January 1st, 2023. And this was on, in front of your seat when you arrived this evening. And we actually have Mr. Hall out in the audience.
I make a motion to appoint Mr. Kent Hall to the Board of Reviews for a term to expire 1/1/2023.
Thank you.
So,
Thank both of you. Thank you.
Third, fourth.
Holly, will you call the roll?
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Wise,
yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes. All right, next we have the reappointment of Jeff Short to the Board of Review for a term to expire January 1st, 2022.
I make a motion to reappoint Jeff Short to the Board of Review for a term to expire 1/1/2022.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Holly?
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
All right. We have a resolution for the Performing Arts Foundation Charitable Gaming License. Do we have any information?
there's information
Oh, yeah,
included
okay.
and the applicants are in the audience.
Okay, all right. Would any of those applicants like to come forward quickly and tell us about your event?
My name is Laura Toronto, I'm the president of the Performing Arts Foundation. We are requesting the gaming license for fundraising for, there is a band event on March 20th. There is a choir and theater event on the 25th of March, and then we're looking at a raffle at the Fine Arts event in April.
And would this cover all of those events, or would they have to come back and resubmit for each event, Tim?
I listed all.
But does it have to be
Depends
listed?
on, well, it's in the plural, so
Okay.
I'm not certain if what you applied for was multiple licenses.
Oh, 3, yeah, at one time.
Okay. All right, any questions? No? All right, I'm looking for a motion to move this forward then.
Make a motion to approve the resolution for the Performing Arts Foundation charitable gaming license.
Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions or discussion? No. Holly?
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Thank you and good luck.
Thanks.
All right, now we have a resolution to proceed with the Redevelopment Ready Communities Program for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Corey?
So this is the follow-up from the presentation at the last meeting. There's just a very brief cover memo which acknowledges, it was Councilman Rowland that asked a really good question about the return on investment. And there was some anecdotal evidence, despite the fact that it's still a new program, we're recommending that we keep going. And the biggest two reasons are it keeps us eligible for economic development incentives from the state, which, while we haven't had one in a couple of years, we do get questions about them all the time. And the second piece is that as we get further down this pipeline, we would be eligible for technical assistance dollars, and that could help with like a master plan update and some of the other types of plans that we have to have. So we're recommending approval of the resolution.
Great, thank you, Corey. Questions?
I know how much staff time do we invest, do you think we'll have to invest in staying engaged in this program?
I don't think it's going to be as great as some communities are. If you remember back to the chart that he had, that's got all the colors, and green was good, yellow was okay, and red was obviously bad. The red pockets are not that great. A lot of them had to do with economic development policies, which later tonight we're addressing at least a portion of that. The fact that our zoning code was largely acceptable is a big one. Now we're separately tackling a few other things with the zoning code with the planning commission. But I think that all told, it's gonna take some time, but it's not insurmountable.
And I know we've been working on this for a while, with the, this even predates you. So I think that it's a good program, it's something we need to do in order to remain viable and attractive in case we do have somebody that, decides they're gonna pick up a parcel out in the industrial park, and if that incentive is there for them with MEDC, it works as a benefit for all parties, so. Any questions? All right, I'm looking for that motion then.
Motion to approve the resolution to proceed with the Redevelopment Ready Communities Program of Michigan Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Jean.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any other further discussion?
What is the out-of-pocket investment by the city? There's no like fee, right?
There's no
No.
direct fee.
Right, there's no direct, it's just not. Okay.
There's no pay to play.
Yeah.
Holly?
That's it.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Corey, for working on this and getting it to move forward. All right, now we have Employee Assistance Program. Rachel, hi.
Hey, it's been a while.
Yeah, it is.
I provided a cover letter, just basically the city has offered an employee assistance program since about 1994 to its employees. Currently, we don't get a lot of usership, but maybe 5 years ago, we sat down and kind of talked about some of the benefits we offer, and this was just one that we said, you know what, even if we don't get a usership today, it's a really good tool to have in case an event happens that we need it. And so when we changed from our former life insurance provider to the Kansas City Life, one of the added benefits that we didn't know about was that they offer an employee assistance program that is very similar to the one we were already providing. And so I sat down with Corey and we talked about it and didn't really see a need for the redundancy. It'll be a net savings for the city of just over $850 a year. And so that's what the cover letter kind of mentions. The next page is the actual change to the policy, because when you look at the policy, it's very specific, and we're trying to get away from being so specific and tying our hands to exact services that we have to provide, other than saying we will provide an employee assistance program with these categories. And so those are the changes that we're recommending tonight. And then I threw in there just a summary of services to show that it is, while we're cutting down quite a bit of the jargon in the policy, we are still providing all of those services. It's just not as specific and detailed in the actual employee manual.
All right, excellent. Any questions for Rachel? Looking for a motion to move the employee assistance program forward then.
I make a motion to approve the amendment to policy 3.14 regarding employee assistance program of the employee manual.
Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Oh, which one? All right.
Second.
Mr. Weiss, all
Thank
right,
you.
thank you very much. Any other further discussion? No? Holly?
Wise,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
All right, now we have the OPEB actuarial services agreement. Rachel, we're here twice.
See you again. Yeah. So the other post-employment benefits is OPEB. We are required to do get an actuarial done on our policy every other year, and they do a roll forward so that we only have to kind of do it every 3 years. And so that's what this service contract or service agreement covers. We've used CBIZ before, and we've been happy with their services, so I'm recommending that we go with another 3-year service agreement with the CBIZ.
All right. Any questions for Rachel regarding this? Looking for that motion.
Motion to approve the service agreement with CBIZ Benefits and Insurance Services Incorporated as presented.
Thank you, Eugene.
Support.
Thank you, Noah. Any other discussion? Holly, will you call the roll?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Smith, Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
All right. Next we have our Economic Development Incentive Policy. Corey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is the final step of this process that we've been going through of studying what to do with an abatement schedule. And so stemming from the last meeting, we put together a formal policy, fleshed out the cover pages, and then really spent some time making these suggested amendments that we got from council on that last page. So that obviously there's some subjectivity to that schedule, and our goal was to make it clear that you can add up each one of the criteria, but you can't go above the total. And then we did change some of the thresholds. They weren't significant changes, but we tried to find a nice balance between what we initially led with and then what council was discussing. So with that, it's a request to simply approve the policy. And then going forward, if we get any requests for these, this will be what we follow. And there'd be an application form that entity could fill out to proceed through that process.
Excellent. Good work. Questions for Corey? Dan?
I like that you have laid out right here, reasons why it could be, the abatement could be rescinded. I think, those are all good reasons. My question is, obviously you never want to have to rescind one of these things, but even with this written in our policy, what are the chances of us having to get into legal action to have this rescinded? I guess that's probably a Tim question.
Well, that would be part of the development agreement, and of course, the policy would be incorporated into that, and we would spell it out.
There's still the opportunity to, if some developer is so tempting, to do some level of a variance to this on the fly. Or once this is in place, is it?
So we would have a development agreement that talks about the amount of the investment and the number of jobs to be created, and if they don't meet those goals, well, then
But could they negotiate, say, for like, I'm doing $1 million, but I want, 6 years?
yes, they could negotiate that.
Okay,
And that would
so this
come
is
before-
put in stone.
This is a policy.
It's just to incentivize them.
And you can negotiate a development agreement that's unique to the developer.
Okay. Cool.
But this is at
Within
least the groundwork.
within the statutory limitations.
Right.
Right, okay.
The only other thing I'd add to that is on page 2 under the minimum requirements, item F, the city reserves the right to waive, modify, or amend any of these policies when it is the best interest of the city.
Okay.
So it's not exactly stating a waiver, but it,
Right on.
you got the ability.
All right.
Sounds good.
Corey, you're confident with the reworking that you've done on the schedule here that it makes us competitive enough to?
Yeah, I think so. I think the goal was to try to make it so that it's beneficial to both parties, so that we're not just giving away 12 years, that there's actually some thought and rationale behind those things. And so I think we tried to identify those key things, like that's why the industrial park has a higher rating than other areas. So yes, and if we get into it and we find that it's not working, we've got the option to come back.
Yep. Great. Okay. Looking for that motion to move this forward.
Make a motion to approve the economical development incentive policy.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other further discussion? No? Holly?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Rhines.
Yes.
All right, our last action item of the evening is the Miller Canfield engagement letter for bond council services. Corey?
All right, thank you. I'm gonna take a little time to go through this one. So back in November at one of our work sessions, we continued our discussion on infrastructure funding. And part of the goal out of that meeting was to come back in the first quarter of 2020 with a recommendation of how to move forward in 2020. So a piece of that, there's this action item, and then there's a discussion item where we have an opportunity to go over some of the analysis. But essentially, what we've decided on is a bonding approach to address a series of long-standing infrastructure issues that frankly the city's been discussing for a number of years now. So with that, there are two critical entities that help the city through something like this. The first is bond counsel, which is an attorney that specializes in public debt issuances. Miller Canfield has assisted the city for a number of years. I think most recently, the 2017 capital improvement bond, which paid for the Middle Street project, some water tower work, and a couple other things. City's been happy with them. Miller Canfield, I think specifically the attorney that we work with, you know, they'll help you throughout the process, but ultimately they want to know that if and when the city actually issues debt, and that's subject to voter approval, that there's an authority given to work with them. So they will work with us to craft the resolution that council would eventually consider, which would essentially list the ballot language and how the bonds would be structured and a millage rate that supports that. But in order to do that, there has to be an authorization. So the first piece of that is this request. The second entity that I mentioned would be your municipal advisor, and they're the folks that we'll talk about a little bit under the discussion item. But essentially, all the work they do is more or less at no cost up until the time you issue debt, and their fees are paid out of those debt issuances. That's a very standard practice in municipal government, so you're working with them up until that point.
Okay. All right, questions for Corey?
What is owed if we don't move forward with doing the bond?
Nothing. At this point, the only work would be to create the resolution. It's a pretty simple thing. They have the information they need. It's just they need the authorization.
Any other questions, discussion? Would somebody like to make that motion?
Make a motion to approve the bond council engagement letter from Miller Canfield.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? No?
I guess,
Yes.
real quick, I mean, because it feels a bit cart before the horse, where we've not engaged in a discussion item to determine how this decision was made, and now we want to retain council to move forward with reviewing this. It just seems a little, I see that you're saying there's no risk financially. I mean, I see $35,000 in there, you know, so you're completely spelling out
Yep,
that it's not owed if we don't move forward, but I get it, they're all template attorney letters, right? But I just wonder, I mean, are we feel good about, you know, hey, let's retain them, and then, oh, let's discuss the actual implementation.
I think when I was reading through this, I think it spells out in there, in the letter, they have the Corey here, where we only pay if it's, if the millage actually passes. So if we, as council, you know, don't pass the millage language to go to the ballot, then we don't owe them anything. I think this is just Corey doing his due diligence, trying to have it set up for if council decides to go forward. Is that correct?
Would you agree with
I mean,
that statement,
maybe I'm
Corey?
missing the language.
Yeah, I would. I think to Jeff's point, I don't know that it specifically addresses that in the engagement letter.
Yeah, just, that'd be awesome if it said that.
I guess that was the impression I got. I don't know if it spells.
And it's typical, right? But should it? It'd be nice if it said it, right?
Well,
In case
I,
there's sort of, you know, these relationships, sometimes you never know which turn they take.
right,
They get going down a long road and suddenly they're running up their own bills. I mean, for attorneys, time is money.
yeah. Tim, go ahead.
Well, that was my question also when I reviewed this letter.
Okay.
Is if you don't proceed, what are they going to charge for the preliminary work? And what does that really entail? If it's just the bond resolution and bond language, they have that, that's boilerplate, they'll just plug in a couple things and
Right.
they have it, there's really not much there. They've got a flat fee that comes out of bond proceeds, but it doesn't expressly say that preliminary work won't be charged if the bond isn't issued.
Correct.
And I don't know if that's something that they would put in their engagement letter. I don't know if you went back to Tom with that comment.
Yeah, it was just a verbal
And
discussion.
he
but-
said that,
Right.
that that's,
Right. But certainly if there's a desire to see that, you know, we can bring that back at the next meeting in March.
Right. Yeah, Noah just made a pretty good statement. I guess I would want a little bit more clarity on that, but we can,
And I'm fine with a motion that's contingent upon just that
Yeah.
language being
Yeah.
added, don't even have to see it.
and
It's
I
totally
like that too,
trustworthy.
Jeff,
I mean,
contingent upon.
so we can move forward,
Mhm.
we don't have to see it again.
Yep. And if
Trustworthy.
if something completely opposite comes back, then we're gonna have to,
Sure.
we'll have to revisit it.
Can we, just put this on as an action item, accomplish that between now and the next meeting? Add it as an action item, I will withdraw the motion. Would that be proper?
That would be fine.
I will withdraw the motion.
Okay.
I second that.
So then do we need to
Once I second.
Make a motion to table,
either table or postpone?
Postpone,
postpone.
definitely postpone to the
Alright.
next regular meeting.
I make a motion to postpone
Indefinitely.
indefinitely, action item 9I, Miller Canfield engagement letter for bond counsel services.
Okay,
Support.
thank you very much. Any other discussion? We're pretty clear on how Cory needs to move
Yep.
forward. All right, Holly?
Roland,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Gizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. All right, well, that concludes the action items for this evening, so we'll move right into discussion items, which is the infrastructure bonding topic.
All right, so this is the second piece that I discussed. And there's not a lot here, it was essentially just to give council a general impression of what we've come up with. So we used the 2018 language that council was considering,
Yes.
which was structured as a straight millage request of about 3.94 mils. And that number, there was meetings and work sessions and committees that came up with that number. And so we looked at what level of bond could we do that would be close to what there was an agreement on about 2 years ago. And so the draft table that's got all the numbers on there, that was provided by the municipal advisors with Baker Tilly, formerly called UMBA. Some members of council, again, in 2018, we had a few meetings with Tom Traciak, who is our representative there. So Rachel and I had a meeting with him, and we've been working with him on this. So what you'll see there is, it's a $7.5 million bond offering with a 20-year repayment schedule. And he's made a variety of assumptions based on the city's taxable values, the growth in those taxable values, as well as an estimated interest rate at 3%. That kicks out a annual millage rate, which is used completely to repay the bond over that 20-year period. And so typically, when a bond millage question goes to the voters, there are two millages that are quoted. There's the first year millage, which you see at the top is 3.7811, and then there's the simple average over the 20 years, which is the 3.8020. They're really close, and the difference is it's adjusted every year based on the taxable value. So this assumes about a 1.5% annual growth. I would say that's very conservative. The benefit there is that if values grow at a greater rate, your millage rate is adjusted down. And so you can see that, it hovers at that 3.78 to 3.8 throughout the entire 20-year period. And so obviously the next question is, well, what can we accomplish with that? And frankly, I don't have an entire program to present tonight. Essentially was looking for any feedback or discussion on the general terms. 7.5 over 20 years at a 3.802 average millage rate over that period. We feel confident that this would accomplish one of the goals that council discussed, which is basically spreading the impact to different areas of the system, both on the water side and the road side. But I'm not prepared here to say specific streets and neighborhoods that would be impacted. But certainly at that level of investment, you would expect to have a big impact throughout the community. As we go forward and look at this, there's going to be a prioritization toward those streets that have the worst rated water mains with the worst rated roads. So that you're tackling those. And then streets that have good utilities underneath that maybe only need a mill and pave on top, because there are certainly roads like that. And so the goal is to try to come up with a system that would take care of a backlog of issues and then start on some of the maintenance needs, so that some of the roads that are maybe a 7 or an 8 don't quickly get to a 3, 4, 2 on the Pacer scale rating that I think council has seen presentations on. So really, again, the purpose was to present this is the analysis that we've come up with, that we're prepared to continue to move toward. The engagement letter from Miller Canfield, that is to prepare the appropriate language that would come back to consider. And so just really looking for any initial reactions, feedback. It's something you can think about and call me and chat about as well. But this is the general path that we're on, and that's where we're going.
I'm just gonna let you go.
Okay, I got a question. Have you included wastewater treatment plant? Is that part of any of this? No.
No,
This
because
is- yeah.
we're still working on a master plan for that, correct?
Right.
We do not have that finished.
And the goal of this has been to do the system, out in the system, right? Your distribution system for water, your roads and streets, sidewalks.
Well, and I know that when we've had Scott here, when we've had our work sessions and everything, we've talked to him about doing pocket projects, whether it is, Orchard, Bismarck, that pocket, not just doing one road over there, but trying to do it as a whole so that we get a better value for our dollar spent. Same thing like if you were going to do Williams, McCormick, Went, Love, doing that. So, I guess as we keep moving this forward and with Scott coming back and talking to us, I guess I would like to see, his 5-year, 10-year plan as to, with this money, what's he gonna tackle? And we also know that we have MDOT money that, we're granted every couple of years, like we had with the Middle Street project. Same thing with the intersection of Church and Putnam. So I know that there's going to be additional funding, over the, when we can qualify for it. But, I guess, that would just be my thing with Scott is, if we were to put this to the vote and the voters come back and say yes, what's his plan for what he's gonna tackle?
I guess, I know this is very similar to the language we passed in 18, but I'm a little concerned with everything else that's on the August ballot. And we can't keep letting the longer we push this, the more expensive it gets. But my concern is, if we ask for close to the top of what we can ask for, will people look at it with everything else that's on the ballot and go, no, that's too much?
Well, I think where we have to be very creative is how we engage with the community, how we educate the community, how we, really point out to them why they should vote yes for this. And I hate to say it, but we have to be very good at selling this to our community to get their vote.
I don't think it's necessarily me selling it, I don't.
Well, and
I'm not saying, but we need,
Yeah,
we
we
need
have
to
to
let people
educate
know
them.
that we're trying to be as transparent as we can
Well,
with
and
this.
then that's.
And then, you know, I guess, you know, that brings up another, I'll ask you here in a little bit.
I guess my question is, and obviously, we wouldn't give as much money, but do we give ourselves a better shot to pass if we ask for 3 instead of 3.7? Or, you know,
And to both your points, I mean, that's what I was thinking when I read this, you know, over the weekend, as well as, you know, the discussion here is, you know, how many people really understand what impact this has to their property taxes? And sometimes people just see a number, they don't care even what it means, it's just a no, because you're asking for money.
Right.
So how do we, you
Well,
know,
and
not so much market that, communicate, this is what it
Right.
means to this average household.
Yeah, usually there's public education
Yep.
where you say, for a typical owner of a $50,000 home or a $100,000
This is
home,
your
your taxes
impact.
will increase this much per year under this
It
bill.
won't do that.
And I think that, you know, based on the number of years that we've been working on this, because I've been working on this since 2015, 16, I think we know what we have to do. I think we have templates of the literature that we want to put out into the community. But we gotta decide here at this table if we're gonna do this, which means we're gonna have to vote on it, and then we can get that ball rolling. We can't, you know, going out and just talking to somebody about, well, we're thinking about doing this, doesn't convince them whether they should vote yes or no, because they really don't know if there's gonna be anything to vote on. But I know with everything that Scott brought in from the community of Spring Arbor and how they were very transparent of what they were putting on their ballot, I think if we follow that plan, and I know Corey's seen this stuff too, I think that it's a good plan. We just gotta do it.
From a 40,000-foot aspect, because I'm obviously relatively, you know, new on this council, but we're 150% sure we've exhausted all other funding avenues. So it sounds like you worked on it for
Yep.
a handful of years, and
Yep.
we're
All the way back to
totally
when this guy was
convinced
mayor.
this is it.
Right, so I think the answer to that is, you know, you're looking at a number of impactful service cuts to otherwise do it.
Yep, yep, and we've talked about that, over the years. We've had, special committees that have looked at, what would an income tax look like here in the city of Williamston, because we had a committee that, looked at, Portland, Michigan. In fact, Mr. Hall, Noah, and Jim DeForest were on that committee. We've really exhausted all of the ideas of what we can do to fix the problems that we have that need to be fixed.
And we're not the only community in this
No,
situation.
sure,
Right.
yeah, no, infrastructure, yeah.
to answer your question, Jeff, because I came on right after all that had finished, the answer was gonna be, was basically you're looking at large cuts to DPW or large cuts to the police department
Yep.
to pay for it.
Yep.
That's brass tacks.
And you know, there's other services too, but when you make those cuts, like if, let's say we decided not to do limb pickup and leaf cleanup and you know, all of those little services, it's still not going to amount to the money that we would need for one pocket project, which, you know, so those small cuts just are not gonna equal, unless you do the big cuts, where you don't have 24/7 police department, where you don't have, you know, we start contracting out the services that our DPW provides to us, so.
Which could not be cost effective in some votes.
Exactly, and I mean, I think Scott does a great job of running DPW, because he's always looking at, you know, what value can we get for a trade-in, what do we have to buy new, what can we repair, what's the life expectancy of a new vehicle, or, you know, if we're doing a lease program, so.
It's nice to know we've, at least, it's extremely well thought out.
Yeah.
In that, if the worst case scenario does occur where it doesn't pass,
Right.
you know, those tough decisions are known.
I'll recognize Mr. Hall out in the audience.
I literally spent years on that.
Committee.
We didn't just study it, we actually went to Portland, because Portland's like a mirror image of us as far as population, demographics, the whole thing. Property value, it's just identical. I was convinced that that's not enough money. We need more than that. So if we can get that, we can make a noticeable difference, so that we'll have a chance in the future. But if we start nitpicking everything else, that's when we stop being Williamston. All those little things, we like it when we come into town and we've had a snowfall and, wow, the roads are good here. So, you know, yeah, we have exhausted hours, days, nights.
Yeah, we
sleepless
have,
nights.
and it's not
But-
an easy decision, it's not an easy decision for 7 of us to come to that affects a community of 4,000. Because this is affecting them in the wallet, and like Dan just said, there's other things that are going to be on the ballot. And I think, you know, our biggest, we have to educate them, and I've always said this from day one, we have to be so transparent to them that they cannot find flaw in what we are telling them. And I think we are doing an extremely good job of that, is, you know, being transparent. We have nothing to hide from our residents, and so, you know, again, this is extremely transparent, moving it forward. Here is potentially what we're looking to bring in, so that we can make those very, very needed repairs.
Do you have, you may remember off the top of your head, if you can, I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, but we just finished up the Mullet and Middle Street there, and we saved for about 3 years, plus got a grant to be able to do that small area, and wasn't that about $350,000? Just to give Jeff
Yeah.
and Jean, that,
Yeah.
It was about double that, with all the engineering expenses that are involved as well. I wanna say it was right around, a little under 800,000. And that was about 2.5 blocks of Middle Street, 1 block of Mullet Street. Now, we did a total reconstruction of the road. Everything got removed. You have all new base, curb, gutter, sidewalk. But it was a very expensive project, and to Dan's point, you know, not only did we save in our street funds, but we also used general fund dollars. And so the general fund has had some positive years, but we did use some of our reserve funds to help support that project. And without that, it wouldn't have been possible, without some kind of debt. So, you know, we were able to use, not quite 100% cash, because that 2017 bond, we used a portion of that to pay for the water system improvements.
but it took quite a few years savings in the general fund to be able to do about 3.5 blocks. And with the amount of street and underground infrastructure we have to do, it's just.
Well, that was gonna be my last question, which sort of goes to your point, Tammy, and, you know, Kent's addition there is, it'll be interesting to see what Scott comes back with, to see what percentage of the known issues get covered by this amount, and is it enough?
Yep. Any other discussion on this discussion item?
For the ballot language, when does that do, that we have to?
For which?
Well,
In August, it's gotta
Yep.
be by May.
yeah, and I think we were trying to maybe, correct me if I'm wrong with our discussion, but I think we were trying to hit August just because of the general election in November. There's gonna be so many issues on that ballot that we did not want this to get lost.
So what's our timeline for moving forward? What do we do next?
So I think,
So at this point,
Yeah.
you know, we haven't, like I said, we haven't done this full program because frankly, I didn't want to put the cart before the horse on that.
right,
I had intended on bringing back a draft resolution of the bond language, but with the hiccup on the Miller Canfield thing, you know, that'll come back March 9th, and then presumably we would have 2 weeks to work with them, so you'd be seeing something likely at the second meeting in March, which puts us in line with all of our, and that gives you time if there's things you wanna discuss further, you know, you have 2 meetings in April.
And you're comfortable with that timeline then, for us to get everything in by May? Presuming that everything goes
Yes,
as planned?
yes.
Okay. So then, and this will just be my last question for, during this discussion, but are we ready to go with community engagement if we do this, to get ballot language in by May?
We
So
would
that
have to
we,
be, yeah,
okay,
we would have to
all right. I just wanna make sure that everything's in lockstep and that we can hit the ground running with that community engagement and doing whatever we need to do.
No, I think community engagement's the huge piece of
It
this.
is, it's big.
And moreover, getting the information out that if we don't pass this millage, we risk having 24/7 police coverage. And
Well, and I think that we even asked you, Corey, if you could put together some numbers for what would cuts look like. So I still think we would wanna see that, right, even down to that, you know, leaf, branch pickup, snow plowing, DPW, PD, all of it, you know. Where are we gonna cut to try to make 1 year of this? And be able to see that.
Yeah, and to that point, I think something that has been discussed in the work sessions is, you know, not necessarily presenting it as an either or issue.
Right.
But for that, we have an understanding, because ultimately, you know, if this doesn't move forward or it doesn't pass, you know, council has big policy decisions to make on, well, what's important?
Right.
And, you know, those are the fun questions that we get to address and hopefully provide really good staff work to help analyze those things. But all of those things come in your budget processes and your work
Which will be
sessions.
starting.
So, I do have a question, and I know Mr. Weiss could probably answer this. The NISA millage, is that on August too?
I believe so.
So, here's my thing, if this goes on August, and I'm using this as kind of a pitch point, but people gotta look at it this way. The fire department gets water from the fire hydrants. Every time fire hydrants are tapped, we're having water quality issues.
Yep.
And that also leads to, you can have broken fire mains, things like that, and then therefore you're gonna have failed fire protection on top of failed utilities and infrastructure, and it's gonna cost more and more out of pocket, so. I hate to say tie the two together, but they kinda do, and, I mean, it's like you said, it comes down to educating the public. I mean, like, every time the fire hydrants are tapped, on Facebook, you see it, and it's like,
Yep.
if you don't know the fire hydrant's tapped, that's what's causing the bad water.
Well, and we get blamed for it on the city
Right.
side, and that's
But that falls on
difficult
the whole
to
community's hands too. I
Yep.
mean, along the lines of this millage, I mean, if we go forward with this, that's, we all affect it.
Kent put it best, some of the things we offer is what makes Williamston Williamston.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't pass, that's gonna be an issue.
Holly, I know the county has some millage renewals and things on in the March ballot. Do they also have things that they're considering for the August ballot?
Can we, is there a way to see any of that yet? You do? Can we get that?
Sure, I'll forward it to you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other final comments on this discussion item? No? All right. We'll go ahead and just keep moving right down our agenda. We do not have any correspondence received, so I will move to the department head report. Corey gave us a great report. Is there anything additional that you want to add?
Not at this time.
Okay. Any questions for Corey regarding his report? No? All right. I do not see Chief here, however, I see Officer Pinter. Do you have anything that you need to report on for us from the PD stand?
I do not.
All right, thank you. We did receive building reports from AGS that you can read through. It looks like we've had some permits pulled for residential and commercial, so it's always good to see that there's growth happening in the city. Holly, we have your report as city clerk. Does anybody have any questions for Holly, or is there anything else you would like to add? Okay. Subcommittee reports. Who wants to raise their hand and tell me about any of their meetings that they've had recently? Mr. Weiss, I was waiting. In fact, I knew nobody else was gonna raise their hand, and
We haven't had one.
you felt everybody looking at you. So,
NISA continues to be a ongoing challenge.
Okay.
First of all, I have to thank Holly and the training that she put on as far as Open Meetings Act and Robert's Rules of Order. There's many things that she taught us at those meetings that has directly been used at the NISA meetings. NISA's been a challenge. I think that as a NISA board in whole, there's been a trend of rubber stamping things and things getting through financially and otherwise that, quite frankly, is coming to a screeching halt. And it's causing a little bit of change that is painful amongst that board. But the City of Williamston representation will continue to do what's right, ethically, financially, and transparent-wise from the NISA board.
Great.
I took the opportunity to go to the last couple of NISA meetings. I just want to express that Jeff, Mr. Wise has been doing, in my opinion, a very good job of representing the city on the NISA board, and thank him for the way he's been representing the city on the NISA board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wise. I know you and I have had conversations, and I too want to echo that. I feel that we have very strong representation now, making sure that the best interests of Williamston and also for the other municipalities that maybe have not wanted to challenge NISA.
I agree, and Mr. Perone put it best. As representation, we do what's good for the NISA board as a city representation. And unfortunately, some of the things that are good for the NISA board, they hadn't necessarily been following their own rules. So, we're doing what's best for the NISA board, keeping representation in mind for each municipality.
Great, thank you very much. Anybody else go to any of the meetings? I know that we've had some canceled due to agenda items. All right. I will open up the floor again for audience participation. Is there anybody that would like to come forward?
I just happen to have a nominating petition with me, so when your meeting's concluded, if those that would like to bless me with some signatures, that I can prove that I was here, I'd appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to come forward at this time? Yes, Mr. Hall? I saw you wave your finger.
Okay, first of all, I've been reading about my friends and neighbors in Weberville, and my heart and prayers go out to them with their difficulties. So I wanted to preface what I'm going to say, because I'm not holding this up better than, but I'm so thankful for, and we should all be thankful for, the professional people we have, the way the board continues to run, the fact that we have a great attorney here, he has a lot of experience. Tim Perone has been just a godsend. We've got a great new city manager. We have a city clerk that's phenomenal. Mayor, Rachel, Barb, and Ann. I probably forgot somebody, but kudos to all of you. Just so you know, I haven't been just doing a lot of sleeping, although my new friend is called Nap. I like to take little things and maybe make them a little bigger. The American Legion here has done some tremendous things for the community, but a lot of people don't even know we exist anymore. I take on a little bigger tasks sometimes, like getting that Vietnam Wall here was a little more than I thought it was going to be, but it was well worth it. So the American Legion is going to get into the poppy business. Okay, the red poppy has a real significance with our veterans, and with the support of Congress. May 22nd, 2020 is National Poppy Day. And Tammy, I'd like to get with you. I've got some wording so that we could do a little proclamation.
Okay.
It's a no-brainer, you don't have to do anything. But we would be honored if you would support by sponsoring an official proclamation in Williamston to recognize May 22nd, 2020 is National Poppy Day in our community.
Okay.
Your proclamation would lend official recognition to importance of all citizens, residents, visitors in Williamston observing this day to honor every service member who has died in the name of liberty, freedom, and democracy. It also talks about recognizing all that have served. So we'll be having a special day to announce this, and wherever we can be, our auxiliary, who is headed by Violet Lenz, cute little girl, 94 years old, I think. She will be at D&W. She's been there for decades on National Poppy Day, selling poppies, so she could send some of the girls' state. So we do a lot of stuff. We could do a lot more for our veterans. We have sent someone to Boys State every year. We'll continue to do that. But it's very difficult to find ways to raise money with all the rules and regulations and everything else. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Okay.
Keep up the good work, guys.
All right, thank you, Ken. All right, I'm gonna go around the table. Councilmember comments, Mr. Rowland.
All set, thank you.
All right, Mr. Smith.
Big thank you to Jeff again for representing us appropriately.
Mr. Misery.
I'll go with Gene said.
All right, Mr. Bellamy.
I'd like to just give a shout out to Rachel and her crew, because I'm the one that has to, every 2 weeks, review accounts payable, and it's very organized, very concise, and I greatly appreciate that, so thank you.
Mr. Ryan.
No comment.
Mr. Weiss.
Number one, I appreciate my fellow council members' kind comments and your support, especially Noah, because I heavily rely upon you for feedback. And number two for Kent. Kent has stepped up when even the mention that we need someone to do something, and Kent has always done that. He hasn't always agreed with what we've done as a board, and that's what I like about him, is that he speaks up, and I think that's necessary for a board to have that happen. So Ken, thank you.
Well, I would like to have everybody look down to my right and wish Mr. Weiss a happy birthday today. And the fact that he hasn't been tapping his watch, wondering when we're gonna get done. So happy birthday, sir.
31.
Yeah. You know the day over 21.
I know.
I just want to thank everybody around this table, because it's not always easy to disagree, but we are very comfortable with being able to share our feelings, our thoughts of how we do best by this city and by our community and our residents. And so I enjoy working with you guys every single Monday that we have a meeting, and being able to bounce ideas off of each other, and hopefully we all just keep each other on the right path. I want to thank my MSU journalism students that are out there. You guys fill our seats every Monday, and that's nice to see, because sometimes there's nobody sitting back there. Just a friendly reminder to all of our city residents and business owners, there is a winter weather advisory. Tomorrow through Friday morning, with the potential of, I believe, 4 to 6 right now. So just remember to keep your sidewalks clean, streets off, or cars off the streets between 2 and 5 a.m. For street cleaning if it's necessary. And that is it. Be safe out there. And we'll adjourn this meeting.